intestinal.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when we get to the tissue ones.
Okay.
So Strongyloides is a threadworm. Its infective stage is the falciform larva. The method is the falciform larva penetrates the skin. So your Strongyloides and your hookworms, your strong and your hooks, both penetrate the skin. It's got a characteristic history of auto-reinfection, so it doesn't need to go out and do the whole life cycle again to reinfect you. It just like auto-reinfects in your body. It can do its whole life cycle within your body.
So what does it mean by thread? Is it because it's flat and it looks like a...
I think it's just kind of skinny and stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm going to call this a threadworm.
Okay.
I don't know. Why does anyone come up with the names they come up with? But I guess that's what you get when you find these things.
So most of these that we're going into right now, they're going to have a rab form and a filiform, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least your hookworm and Strongyloides does. So your hookworm and your Strongyloides are the ones that have your rhabditiform and falciform that are relevant to lab techs, and they have a lot of similarities. So we're going to go over afterward differentiating Strongyloides and hookworms. And so if you can't remember which ones are penetrators, and if you can't remember which one have these two forms of larvae, then try to remember it's the ones that are compared together to try to differentiate. Then your diseases and symptoms are ground itch, just like hookworm, pneumonitis, fatal hyperinfection, and larva currens. And I said earlier, I'll repeat that though, the larva currens is an external autoinfection. And your method of diagnosis is to identify the rhabditiform larva in the stool.
So I have a question real quick. Is it important to know the lifespan of these?
Yes. No, not the lifespan. I'm sorry. The life cycle. Yes. The lifespan, not so much.
Okay.
It don't really matter. Because you can end that lifespan real quick, right? If you kill it or expel it or something like that. So it's mostly, my teacher was super fond of telling us how many eggs they can produce in a single day, though, and some of them are super, super crazy. Like, crazy, crazy numbers. Thousands. One was like 1 million. It could produce 1 million eggs a day. I think it was one of the Nematodes. But it's not uncommon for these things to be able to produce like 20,000 eggs a day.
So most of these that we're going into right here are more daytime?
I mean, they're in there 24/7. I have the little moon next to which area because it's more
Okay.
nocturnal, specifically for that one. But I wouldn't differentiate any of these ones we've gone over as like a day or nighttime, with the one exception of Anaerobius vermicularis that will go and lay. The gravid female goes and lays her eggs at night.
The day and nighttime for the study questions was in the tissue ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got
I just remember the day and night. I stayed up late doing those.
Yeah, we'll definitely go over those. And so your Strongyloides, you identify rhabditiform larvae in the stool, and then your little rhabditiform has a short buccal cavity and a genital primordium, and then your falciform has a notched tail and no buccal cavity with a long esophagus. Strongyloides. Threadworm. You ever get tired of Word not knowing what you're typing? And then I sit there and second guess on myself all the time, and I'm like, no, that's right. It just doesn't know it yet. So your Strongyloides, stercoralis, is your threadworm. Move these over. It is one, it's special because it can be free living. Meaning it needs no host. To remember that, I always think of a strong thread. Can be free living. So it has to be strong to be able to be free living. So Strongyloides.
I like how my micro professor said to remember it. It's a strong, independent woman that don't need no man.
I love that. That's a good example. Strong.
Okay, Strongyloides. Strong.
Independent woman. Don't need no man. I love it.
A strong, independent woman that don't need no man. I'm gonna think I'm gonna put worm instead of woman. Infective stage is gonna be your which form?
The I can't say that word.
Filiform larva.
Faleriform.
Fel-
Faleriform. Faleriform larva. Method that faleriform larva penetrates the skin. And which one else penetrates the skin?
The hookworm?
Yes. So, got your worm and your Strongyloides penetrates skin. So it has a way of auto-reinfecting as well. So auto-reinfection.
So this is like a hookworm.
They have a lot of similarities to the hookworm, but Strongyloides is the threadworm. But they do this auto-reinfection where the rhabditiform larva turns into faleriform larva in the intestines. To reinfect the host. But if you can just remember that it does is one of those that can auto reinfect the host, then I don't think you need to know exactly how it does it.
So I don't understand that. What do you? I know what auto. I mean, I know what infection means, but it just.
It doesn't have to leave your body and then go get embryonated and then you have to accidentally swallow it again. It like does it all within your body. Goes through its whole life cycle and then can reproduce and do everything within your body.
So it can make more. So if you have one of these in your body, it can make more of them. It can keep multiplying more and more and more and more.
Yes, without having to go through the whole route of transmission and hosts and stuff like that again. It can just keep doing it within your body.
Okay.
So it also, for your diseases and symptoms, it's also associated with brown itch, like the hookworms, and that's like at the site of penetration. Pneumonitis in the lungs, a fatal hyperreaction, and what that is talking about is sometimes your body has like a stronger reaction to them. Like, you know, some people can die from bee stings and some people aren't so bad. It's kind of like that. So someone's body can have a fatal hyperreaction that ends in anaphylactic shock.
Kind of like an allergic reaction.
Yes. And then it also has larvicurrence, which just means larval migration. And if you think about which ones have the larvicurrence, think about how they get there. If you swallow something and it goes to your intestines, you get it there. But if it, you know, enters your foot and needs to get to your intestines, then, well, it's got to find a way to get there, right? So it's going to have that migration.
So if it goes through the skin like your foot, it can't really be a larva. It has to be an adult, doesn't it, to have the teeth or be able to, I mean.
Nope, it's your faleriform larva.
Like a teenager, it can't be a rabbi.
Nope, it can't be the rabbi. It has to be a faleriform larva.
Right. It's got to have some form of getting in there, where if it's in a shell, it can't.
Correct.
Okay.
So then your diagnosis is going to be to identify the rhabditiform larva in the stool. And then some of your key characteristics, your rhabditiform. And which stage is that? The rhabditiform stage?
That's like the baby stage.
Yep.
It eats all the time.
All the time. So it's got a short buccal cavity and a prominent genital primordium. Primordium. Yeah, I think that's the way to say it. And before you ask, I do not know, but we're about to find out. Genital primordium is the genital swellings from the labia majora in female fetuses and fuse to form the scrotum in male fetuses. The genital tubercle becomes the clitoris in female fetuses and the penis in male fetuses. So it's a genital swelling that forms the labia or the scrotum. And it shows it in the pictures. I have a hard time seeing what exactly they're referring to in some of them. This one, I can see like the little swelling there a little bit. And this one, you can kind of see the swelling. But it's kind of hard for me personally to, I don't think I would ever look at the microscope and be like, oh, genital primordium. But if you can, all the power to you. It'll just make you more awesome tech. See this one, you can see it a little bit, how that little swelling there. Oh, and here's that buccal canal that you can see a little better than you could in the picture I was trying to hold up. So it's from like there to there. Okay, so the rhabditiform has a short buccal cavity and a genital primordium. And then your faleriform, which is which stage is it?
Your teenage stage.
Which is, what does it do?
Huh?
Scientifically, what does it do?
The infective stage.
Yep, that one's going to be your teenage stage or your infective stage. So your faleriform happens to have a notched tail and no buccal cavity. And then it also has a long esophagus. Penetrates the skin. Yep, nope, I got the diagnosis. Oh, a cool fact, I don't think you'll be tested on it, but a cool fact about Strongyloides, and it just kind of goes along with it's like, it's a strong, independent woman that don't need no man. Like, she literally does not need no man because the males cannot, but any female Strongyloides larva can, in an all-female environment, can change themselves into, it's called Parthenogenesis, which is like self-fertilization. So like Strongyloides legit does not need no man because she can fertilize her own self in an all-female world. Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Yeah, and it's called Parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis.
I think this one's going to be a lot easier to remember just because of the word strong in front of it. And then you put the woman behind it.
Yeah, it's got all these relations to strong things.
I know.
Okay, so first I'm going to go over the picture specifically for Strongyloides, and then I'll do a little section on differentiating your Strongyloides from which one? Hookworms. It's going to be Strongyloides from hookworms. Yep. So here's some of our pictures. Here is the notched tail. And is that on the faleriform or rhabditiform? The notched
tail
is going to be your faleriform.
Or faleriform. Sorry, I can't say it right.
And it's going to have no buccal cavity, but it's going to have a long esophagus in the faleriform. And now for your rhabditiform, it's got this little buccal cavity here. Can you kind of see that little indent right in the middle? Right there. That's the little buccal cavity. And then your rhabditiform also has the your genital primordium.